Hello, everyone. The Wizard of Oz. When you think of this movie, what crosses your mind? Is it fond memories of watching it, maybe with your mom and dad, maybe your brother or sister? Or is it watching it with your kids, watching them just get amazed by this adventure of Dorothy through the land of Oz? Or that wicked witch and her promises to get Dorothy and her little dog, too? Hi, everyone. I'm W.F.S, your doctor. And I'm talking to you today about The Wizard of Oz because they just announced that Warner Brothers is in the process of making a new or remake of The Wizard of Oz. And Kenya Kelly, excuse me one second, Kenya Barris has said that she's going to write it, direct it, and she believed that the original was an allegory of the events that took place back during the Great Depression and during the Dust Bowl, and promised that this new version will be a more modern tale of the story involving the LGBTQ community as well as social economic issues that are taking place around not only in this country but around the world, trying to incorporate it all into the story. Warner Brothers is the one supposedly that is going to be authorizing this. I have a couple of questions and a couple of thoughts that cross my mind here. Number one question is, with Warner Brothers basically cutting its spending left and right, from its HBO Max to its films, Batgirl being cut, is remaking The Wizard of Oz the way to go if you're desperate for a positive cash flow? Hollywood has not had a successful career in the past decade or so of remaking classic films. Um, it's the Ghostbusters is a clear example of that. 2016 totally tanked. It was just a complete disaster. And it was so bad that when they announced the box set of all the Ghostbuster movies, it was not included in that box set. In fact, I believe the director of it was very upset at Sony over that. So that's a clear sign right there that this may not be a good idea. Then you have all the remakes like Star Trek. Well, they're not even remake. Star Trek Picard. It's not doing well. You have the Star Wars series that is going on over there at Disney Lucasfilms, and almost half of them are tanking. Um, the Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, it's not doing well. Not to mention Marvel's She-Hulk Attorney at Law. These things are not doing well. And they all have agendas in them. So I am going to ask, what do all of you think about this? Is it a bright idea for Hollywood, especially when they are desperate for cash right now, to touch such classics? I personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with remaking The Wizard of Oz. It could probably do for a modern day version of it, but at the same time, I do not remember agendas being put into the film. I don't think society back then was so wrapped up on political agendas as they are today. Everything's got to have a message, everything's got to have a position on something. And I honestly think that that is taking away from the quality of a good film. And this just sounds like another disaster waiting to happen here. At the same time, New Line Cinema is in the process of making another Wizard of Oz themselves. So, two different versions of The Wizard of Oz. That's definitely going to be interesting. Yeah, so Nicole Castle, a producer and also a co-director of The Watchmen, will be the one working on the New Line Cinema version of The Wizard of Oz. So this definitely, just on the fact that they're talking about two different stories for The Wizard of Oz, ought to be interesting. Last time I ever heard of two films with the same story or the same cast member or character, character, Dorothy Gale. Well, the last time I heard of anything like that was back in the 80s when two different James Bond films, Octopussy and Never Say Never Again, came out months apart. Octopussy blew Never Say Never Again away, but Never Say Never Again that still made some decent money. So there's just some interesting questions going on about all this. Do we really need another Wizard of Oz? With the technology that we have today, it definitely could be an interesting thing to see on a screen. But at the same time, do we really need one with a political agenda? Can't we just tell a story of this girl and her time in Oz? I think just that alone would be a great idea, but to throw agendas into it, this needs to stop. Hollywood needs to just get back to telling stories. Plain and simple. Well, please click the like button below, subscribe, and I will catch you later.